What up, gamers? Spencer here, and welcome back to my reaction to the Theorizer's Pixar Mega Theory. So last time, we finished up the first playlist for this series, and now we're going to move on to the second playlist in this video, starting off with 4 Monsters, Inc. theories. The first one is the Nest Theory, followed by 3 Roz theories. I didn't know that Roz was, that, I guess, detailed with lore, apparently. Um, but yeah, that means we got 4 videos to watch, and I did check out the future videos here. There does seem to be like another quadrilogy of videos with The Incredibles. It looks like it'll be mainly about the first one with Syndrome. I feel like it's been such a long time since I watched the first Incredibles. I feel like I might not remember much. But there is The Incredibles 2 over here. We got the Saul Goodman guy over there. Oh no, there's even more here. What the heck? Wait, there's like, what? I'm guessing maybe 2 when it comes to The Incredibles 2. Okay, I guess I can watch maybe these 3 for the next video. But yeah, it seems to be a mix of Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles, and then also some Inside Out. Got some Up, back to Toy Stories, and yeah, this one was 4 weeks ago, by the way. Yeah, this is, I think, the one that pretty much ties it all together, which I guess we got BNL. But yeah, that was the one day that he mentioned, right? That pretty much where, that explains all the advanced technology, I believe. Anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and begin with the Nest theory over here. We'll be watching pretty much all the, yeah, I guess all the Monsters Inc. theories for the first 4 here. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to let you guys know to go ahead and check out the Theorizer's channel. I feel like I keep on forgetting to do that. I've been meaning to, but at the very least, I've always been able to at least source his videos down in the comments below. So yeah, go and check him out and check out his other amazing theories. So far with the SpongeBob and the Pixar stuff, it's been pretty good, man. I do like this, just watching his videos in general. So yeah, it's always entertaining. Anyway, here we go, guys. We got the Nest theory, the Pixar theory on steroids. All right, let's see it.
Oh, good gracious we're finally here. 2
Good
years ago, I
gracious.
officially put the cap on my infamous 13-part, 3-hour-long Pixar Family Tree Timeline Shared Universe dissertation. Near the very end, I claimed I had plans to weave my way through a multiversal interchange of sorts and dissect the next of Pixar's shared universes. I claimed.
So, like, what I remember is that Monsters Inc. is probably what does the whole multiverse stuff, which I can kind of see. There's like a lot of doors. I'm sure it's like doors to the multiverse.
Monsters Inc. would be critical, and I was
Yeah, to
not
different
lying.
universes.
So here we are, finally. After ages of subconscious planning, I have something quite solid that may or may not give my DreamWorks dissertation a run for its money. This one I forecast to be around the same total length as my previous Pixar mega theory, so 2 or 3 hours. This one is much more wild, however. The first dissertation brought together a whole bunch of my other theories, like my Gusto videos and my Emma Jean videos and my Finding Nemo videos. This one functions somewhat similarly. I'll most likely drag in my theories on Roz, Syndrome, and the National Supers Agency.
Oh wow. So wait, this is the first video, right? Like he already made thumbnails for all those. Like he already had them in mind. That's kind of crazy. Like if he already had like a layout at least. He's been planning ahead.
Today we take the interchange because before
Like yeah, I just saw those
first
thumbnails,
into the
and he already
Mobius
made them.
Matryoshka, I must first transition a number of smaller things and start by proving a point about a man I've been targeting for years, and that man is Horst. Upon finally
Wait, what? Horse? Is that his name? I forgot this guy's name. I killed a man with this thumb. Oh my gosh, I like this scene so much. Is that his name? I forgot his name. Let me hear that again. Just got distracted by him with his thumb.
proving a point about a man I've been targeting for years, and that man is Horst. Upon finally gaining the conclusions that I have, I am
Horst.
allowing him to show us the way forward, and dear God if it isn't amazing.
I thought he said horse, but I think he said Horst. Okay. Yeah, let's see it, man. I'm kind of curious about the multiverse stuff. I think multiverse in general does intrigue me because, I mean,
Hello.
I made like VTuber models kind of based on the multiverse. If you haven't checked out my other like let's play videos, I got like different models. Pretty much like multiverse stuff.
The Theorizer. For ages now, I've been promising and promising and promising to discuss how I think Remy's father, or more likely mother, was the rat controlling Gusteau himself. And this led to the mother's death, which all wraps back around and explains why both the father is so hateful towards humans and why they live in Gusteau's mother's house. See my first Pixar dissertation. Remy knew all the recipes, he was tutored by Gusteau. There's a lot more evidence too, and it all sort of comes together, so if you'd still like me to make a video on that, I suppose I can, but I don't know where to fit it. This was a problem for me, so I decided that I'd bridge the gap between these two collective theories in another way, using my backup plan, which is Horst. Horst is the mysterious, aggressive sous chef in Ratatouille.
Okay. Yeah, that is his name. I thought he said horse at first, but it's Horst.
And he seems to have some mysterious backstory. He
He
has been
does.
arrested
He has multiple backstories, dude. Wait, hold on. Is he about to say hold on, because he had the whole multiverse theory? Can you imagine if he had like I don't know. I feel like there might be a connection there. We'll see what he says. I'll let him cook.
in the
No pun
past, but
intended.
whenever people ask him what for, he seems to change his story.
Yeah.
He gives no less than 4 reasons in one movie. He says he defrauded a major corporation. He then says he robbed the second largest bank in France with only a ballpoint pen. Then he says he tore a hole in the ozone layer above southeastern
Yes.
France before finally wrapping up and
I
claiming
killed a
he
man
murdered someone
with this
his
thumb.
bare thumb. There's continuity in his stories as well, such as how he later shows his thumb to the exiled Chef Skinner before assaulting him.
Yes.
I have great reason to believe that Horst has neither lied nor exaggerated a single story he has given out. I have
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this because, this guy was one of my more, I guess, liked characters. Like, I guess, liked side characters in Ratatouille. He's always, like, funny to me.
reason to believe he has in fact done all 4 of these things, and it sounds like quite a life, right? Yes, because he single-thumbedly destroyed something critical. Here's where things get interesting. Throughout nearly all of Pixar's films, there is a notorious corporation known as BNL,
Yeah.
which has been theorized on.
Oh, snap. This is in Wally. Wow, that's also been, like, another movie I haven't seen in a long time. I don't think I ever noticed them in the background, like, all these advertisements. So, hold on. Oh, never mind. I thought I thought, I saw it there, like, I guess what BNL means. Buy, shop, live, but there's no N. Shop is an S. There's buy and live.
Almost to death, as it is
It's by and large, right? That's what BNL means? That's what I'm guessing.
essentially responsible for a lot of the mystery of Pixar. It's mainly focused on in WALL-E, where they are the company that dominated the world.
Yeah, there we go, by
are
and large.
responsible for the
That's what I
AI
remember.
uprising and spaceships. BNL is short for by and large, and I used them to prove a point in my first Pixar dissertation as well. You see, anytime you see a shady corporation in these films, BNL tends to be responsible in one way or another. The only faces we really get to see would probably be the men in suits from Up, assuming they do have ties back into this. It's funny, another theory I've wanted to make for around 5 years now is on the matter of Russell's dad. I pondered over a number of characters,
really?
and this man in the suit near Carl's house fit best in every possible way, but I noticed others had talked about this elsewhere, so I never really wanted to make a dedicated video on it. Either way, I do believe BNL is responsible here as well, considering their constant attempts at world domination. I'm just saying this so I can give a face to the name for the time being and make it easier for now, because if you haven't realized what I'm getting at yet, well, it's that BNL has a very obvious tie to all of Horst's stories, and I don't know
Really?
if a single person has connected this yet. He claims he robbed a bank and defrauded a major corporation, and this all sounds very BNL-ish to me, considering they're the primary corporation in Pixar films and they're all about money. What comes next helps even more. He claims he tore a hole in the ozone layer above Avignon. This should sound frighteningly familiar to you, considering BNL is almost solely remembered in these films for being the one who annihilated Earth's atmosphere and then left it altogether. Horst finishes by claiming he killed
that is
him
true.
with his bare thumb.
I'm guessing that's
I have
the-
reason to believe
I'm assuming that's,
all
like,
these stories
related
are
to
connected
Wall-E.
to BNL. Major corporation, money, ozone layer, murder. My final connection is the biggest one of all. I was thinking about Horst and his job as a chef, well, assassin, but also chef, and I was thinking about what sorts of things that could tie back into, particularly within the other 4 franchises in the first dissertation. And then it sort of all hit me at once. BNL owns everything, including the batteries in the
The
toy
batteries?
Buzz Lightyear.
Oh
They
my
are
gosh.
fixated on space travel, and I'll elaborate on this later,
I mean, I,
but I
I don't
have
know if
heard
that's weird for me to say. It's just, all these small things I just don't like realize that they were there with like the logos of BNL. It's like wow, all these recurrences, man. Even like Buzz Lightyear's battery.
great reason to believe that B&L owns the Pizza Planet chain and the Buzz Lightyear chain. They are prepping the world for space travel. Horst saw this in the restaurant business and he
I wonder because I saw a bit of the new Toy Story 4. I do wonder if there's like an army of Buzz Lightyears they showed like in the previews. I wonder if that has to do with anything because to me, an army of them does kind of sound like a world domination type thing.
killed their CEO, Russell's dad, with his bare thumb. You may think this is a leap, but all I ask is that you give me time, in later videos too, to prove all this, because
So
I'm not even close to done. And it's a mess right now,
Horse
obviously.
killed
I say all
Russell's
this
dad
because
with his
B&L
bare
shows
thumb.
signs of not just being in this main Pixar pentalogy quintet universe I've been studying in my previous dissertation, but they're in all of them, all universes. How is this possible? How can B&L transcend universes and be in Wall-E and Cars and all of this stuff? This is going to come out a
I mean, I'm not gonna be surprised if they're gonna be in all universes. Like if they're able to like just one single company just being the same in all universes, like they're actually connected in between the multiverse. Just because I mean with that whole space travel in Wally, I feel like, what else can they even do? Like I feel like they can even go like beyond, like to more infinity and beyond than space travel. They can probably find a way to do the multiverse.
left field for almost all of you. I think the B&L Corporation is the evil force out to control the infinite Mobius Matryoshka. I was going to wait. I wasn't going to do this now. I was just going to hint at Horst and B&L and the next universe and then wait. But I can't stall any longer on what I think is happening here. Not as I find more and more proof as I literally type this script. For months now, you may have seen me ramble on about an infinite Mobius Matryoshka on Twitter or YouTube, wherever.
It's my first time hearing about this, so I hope he explains about it in this video.
I'm gonna get it over with and state my thesis now.
I don't know
We're
what
in the right
what that means.
mindset, so why not?
Oh,
Don't
bad.
compromise.
All right, let's continue. We got this flashbang.
There's an important distinction that must be made if we are to progress with the next Pixar universe as I promised 2 years ago. The structure I have built to allow my Pixar theories to function is not capable of supporting multiple universes in the form it takes at this time. Pixar has far too many inconsistencies to all be a single timeline, but far too many consistencies to completely be fragmented across multiple. There must be significant overlap to allow any of this to work. The five-way binding of Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Up, Ratatouille, and Inside Out took me half a decade, the Pixar pentalogy. I tried adding more franchises to the pentalogy, but the problem was that it became increasingly unstable, and I keep promising this
Yeah, I can see that.
return with a battle plan to attack the other films and their connections in a way that wouldn't violate what I'd already stated. Monsters, Inc. and The Incredibles, to my knowledge, can achieve this because they are well known at this point to be highly connected, only beat out by the pentalogy. There are problems at Pixar, you see. Easter eggs belong where they shouldn't, contradictions exist where they cannot, paradox on top of paradox, and this requires a workaround like no other.
I wonder how
The famous
Monsters
and
Inc. are connected to
inspirally
The
clever
Incredibles.
Pixar theory timeline by John Negroni, and added to by the Super Carlin brothers, of course, is excellent in terms of overall theme and narrative. It's one of the most fascinating concepts I have ever seen, but it gets very frustrating and confusing, almost in a way, when it comes to some of the more obscure one-to-one logical correlations, which is why I could only get 5 films out of it when I tried sealing the timeline and family tree with genetics, surnames, timing, locations. Okay then, maybe there are several different universes. That's the belief most people have been under all this time. That's not even a theory, really. That's just more of a complicated way of describing the fact that each film is its own world, a multiverse, and then remain under the assumption that some films share a universe. Bingo, done. That's what I've been doing. But then there's still overlapping. Shared universes where they cannot be shared. Overlap where there can be none. This means there must be something truly strange going on, and I finally have a way of describing all of this that works. It's basically just me saying,
Look at all these inconsistencies.
but from a different angle. An angle that will orient us in a direction that will allow for more universes to exist unhindered. This is where things are about to get complicated. Because what exactly do I mean by impossible overlap? Well, I can give a really simple example right now. In Boo's bedroom in Monsters Inc., we see Jesse and Nemo.
Yeah.
This is not Jesse, and this is not Nemo.
Well, I feel like Nemo's obvious. It's just probably just a plushie. I mean, I assume the Jessie doll is just like another, you know, like version of the doll. It's not the same one. Like it's not Andy's Jessie doll.
Jesse was a one-of-a-kind doll and cannot
Oh,
exist here.
really? Never mind then. I stand corrected.
Yet she does. If you don't believe that, well, Nemo is literally a random clownfish from the ocean, and yet here he is.
I mean, for this one, I feel like it's more of a reference. Just like, oh hey, that's like the same fish from Finding Nemo.
It's his model, his face, his character, but it's not him. This is a toy based
Yeah,
off of him, but not in the context of him being some random toy based on a random fish some dentist captured in Australia. No, Nemo must be famous in some other way. Just like how this is
famous.
not Jesse. These are not the characters.
Okay, I can maybe see that.
These are toys.
I don't know
It's
how,
a
but
toy
it's a
based off the
possibility.
famous rare artifact of Jesse from the Toy Story films. This is literally Pixar merchandise. This is our answer. This is how Easter eggs pan out into the logical substructure of a fictional multiverse. Each Pixar narrative is a fictional narrative within the universe of every other narrative.
So wait, I'm guessing he's saying like Toy Story is a movie within Monsters Inc. pretty much, and that's why there's like a Jessie doll there, which is pretty much like merchandise. Okay, I can see that, and I guess that also explains why there's a Nemo doll there, like a Nemo toy, because they probably have Finding Nemo in that universe too, like as a movie. Okay, I can see that.
What I'm saying is that each Pixar movie or series takes place within its own world, where, in the Emeryville, California of that fictional world, there is a fictional Pixar making all of the films they've been making, which themselves contain fictional Pixars making fictional films that contain all other films, including the origin film to begin with. It is recursion to a dimensional degree as high as the number of universes that can ultimately
Man,
exist here, maximum being the number of films they've made. But as I have gone into before, there are noteworthy clusters that, if dealt with carefully, can permit shared universes when applicable. This is a recursive, fictional stack with
yeah. To be honest, it kind of like fried my brain, like thinking about it being like a recursive, like a movie within a movie. Like pretty much like it's like I'm not sure how that exactly works. Just like thinking about that, like they make movies and yeah, it's kind of fried my brain a bit
many
of like
tangents
that
in
kind of
all
like
sorts
concept
of
of like them
directions.
making
It is
movies.
Inception gone rogue. It is metafiction gone rogue. It is a Russian nesting doll, a matryoshka, a self-containing paradoxical multiverse with haywire tangents
Like if
strewn
you don't know
throughout,
about
with two
recursion, pretty much
universes of
like you're just going in a loop. It's just hard for me to visualize it in like them making fictional movies within fictional movies, and they keep on going like that.
most critical importance are the pentalogy and the duology I have hinted at. For now, this duology universe contains only Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles to my knowledge. These two universes, the pentalogy and the duology, are locked in the harshest, most aggressive dual recursion in the whole system, and I aptly refer to their link as an infinite Mobius matryoshka. Up until this point, I've represented these two universes as the shadow of a tesseract because it illustrates the point quite well, and how this sort of meta structure could likely exist with remarkable ease in higher dimensions. I think it's easier to illustrate, but honestly, I'd need a 3D modeler to get it right because it's kind of hard to illustrate a Mobius strip on paper. What am I even doing? I'm trying to convey this through a Mobius strip, but it's not two-sided. I think what I was going for was the Mobius strip contorted into the shape of an infinity figure so as to convey the continuity on one hand but the duality on the other. This won't pan out given the additions of other pocket universes though, so I'll stick with this neat little illustration. Maybe I'll rename it later. So now to my big point.
Okay. Well, another ad. Yeah, I'm not sure if I fully understood that whole layout they tried to give out when it came to the like the whole I guess the multiverse stuff there, or I guess the whole recursive. I assume he's saying that Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles is probably like the highest point, I guess, when it comes to the universe stuff, and that these series over here exist within the Monsters Inc. and the Incredibles world through like fictional like films. Like they're just pretty much entertainment for these two worlds to consume. Then somehow this one goes in a recursive thing as well, which that part it's hard for me to visualize that, or at least grasp the concept of it. But yeah, let's continue.
Have reason to believe Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles share a universe, one that overlaps with the pentalogy by containing it as a fictional world while simultaneously being a fictional world within it. In this new universe I'm
Yeah,
mapping,
like I
Monsters Inc.
can
would be the
understand it
future,
being
and The
like
Incredibles
a fictional thing within Monsters Inc. and Incredibles. The recursive part does get me a bit confused on like how that exactly works.
would be the past. I say this because of obvious things such as how superheroes are evolved humans and monsters are evolved humans to a much further extent, but we still see such beings as an owl monster in Incredibles 2 to further prove this point. In addition,
Oh,
these two films
what?
have been rigorously tied
Never
together
knew
by
about
other
him.
theorists for years now, notably in theories that state Boo is a superhero of some sort, with her possibly even being Violet Parr, which again are all theories by the Super Carlin brothers and Seamus Gorman if I recall. And while I don't have anything specific to say on those matters, I do think Boo is a superhero, which is why Randall was so desperate for her, and why he'd likely already tested on her dozens of other times like the energy ball she is, as she somehow knew exactly how to open the secret entrance. She also obviously disappears and reappears at will, and I tend to stay away from these other theories aside from thumbnails or brief skip-throughs, but I assume this is the sort of thing that was discussed in them. There's also a ton of bonus disc evidence nobody seems to talk about that implies Monsters Inc. to be in the
Dang.
far future, beyond the idea that it was poetic for the famous Pixar theory, but I'll go into that infamous
You know what's
bonus
funny about the CDs? It looks like back
aside
then,
from thumbnails or brief skip-throughs,
because
but I
I've only
assume
noticed
this is
it
the
like
sort of thing
maybe
that was discussed in them. There's also a ton
I guess in the more recent times, like on Disney Plus and stuff. But yeah, there'll be that like one ongoing joke with like Mike, right? Where they would always cover him because that's what happened in the first movie. Yeah, they don't do it here though, but that's like way in the past. I'm sure like nowadays they'll probably sneak that in somehow.
of bonus disc evidence nobody seems to talk about that implies Monsters Inc. to be in the far future, beyond the idea that it was
Yeah, they don't do it
poetic for the
before, but
famous Pixar
they've been doing it
theory, but I'll go
recently.
into that
I
infamous
noticed that
bonus
in
disc in a
when I
later,
finished
equally
rewatching
crucial
Monsters
video.
Inc. one
The point
time,
is,
like
simply,
many years
that I
ago.
believe The Incredibles is the past and Monsters Inc. is the future of the same timeline. This timeline is in a paradox with another timeline, the pentalogy. The paradox is not of a temporal nature, but of a metafictional one. Each one contains the other one ad infinitum. Now that we've established the major point, we must loop back around to the initial mind blow. What was my theory? Oh yes, BNL's role in all of this. As I said, I think their goal is to dominate the multiverse on every single level they can fathom. Logic would dictate that the Pixar short films are the truly smaller sub-nodes, and ubiquitous Easter eggs such as A113 and the Pizza Planet truck are the connective tissue of this Russian nest, as it were. Harkening
Okay.
back to the first dissertation, some Easter eggs are more irrefutable than others. Riley being in the Marine Life Institute, bulletproof. Emma Jean postcard, solid. Darla being on the cover of Molly's magazine, flimsy but doable. But Nemo in Boo's bedroom, absolutely fucking impossible. Enter the Matryoshka. To my knowledge, every film has a Pizza Planet truck and A113 as Easter eggs. This is well known, except for these two. Many people have searched.
I'm not sure what this A113 is. I do know the Pizza Planet stuff. I don't recognize what this is over here. I'm not sure if they're like reoccurring. This is like a reoccurring thing, maybe. Like this this word, or I guess a letter and three. I mean, yeah, one letter and three numbers that always reoccur in these movies.
But it's always slightly off, not quite there. No truck in The Incredibles and no code in Monsters Inc. There's importance. I have come to the ultimate conclusion that this corporation plans to unite the infinite Mobius Matryoshka using Easter eggs. I'm not sure if they know this, but that would be catastrophic, like the collision of two black holes. I was tentative with this at first. I mean, it's just a really complicated way of describing what's already happening, but it's still quite meta. That was until I started writing this, and I remembered the bombshell of unimaginable legitimization of my claims. I swear, I have no idea how this keeps happening, but it does. It just dawned on me that Pixar has been planning a meta film for quite some time now. One that not only is directly in line with this metafictional premise, but the BNL evidence as well. Pixar is planning to release a complicated movie known as Lightyear, which is, I
Oh,
swear to God, a film within a film about outer space centered
you know,
around toys.
that is true. I have not watched that Lightyear movie, but I know it's supposed to be, like in Toy Story, like Buzz Lightyear came from, whatever like movie or show he's from. And like from what I heard, this movie is pretty much what Andy watched that made him want to get like Buzz Lightyear.
Film
So
merchandises.
yeah, I feel like in a way this movie does kind of like support. Well, I guess it doesn't support, but like it does at least it can happen where there's a fictional movie within a fictional movie.
This is beat for beat my entire premise. Why does this keep happening to me? I can only keep it in for so long. What the f? It's literally a film that takes place within the Toy
Yeah.
Story universe, and it's the movie
But that's
the
within
Buzz
that
Lightyear toy was based on, which, as we know, has ties back
the
to
whole
B&L. It was
series of
even
fictional
as
films within
complicated
Monsters
for them
Inc.
to explain this when they announced it. My
and The
theory
Incredibles.
is that B&L is releasing this film as outer space propaganda to prepare the multiverse for their ascension in WALL-E, and this means that all of the fictional Pixars are controlled by B&L as they plan to unite the multiverse using Easter eggs. The fictional Pixar is B&L. Horst caught wind of everything and killed their CEO, which only sped up their plans for domination of the space-time nest. Funny enough, the Toy Story films already have Russian nesting dolls in them to begin with. Foreshadowing gone awry yet again.
Oh, another ad. Yeah, the Lightyear movie is an interesting topic to talk about because it is a fictional film within a fictional film. But then when you bring in Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles having one shared universe, like yeah, you go from there being like the top, and then it's followed by Toy Story and then Lightyear. But I guess based on what he said about B&L being pretty much like the Pixar in, I guess in this Pixar universe theory here, yeah, I assume that when he's talking about Lightyear here, it's not like it is a, I guess at least a series or a franchise within Toy Story, but I guess B&L actually made the Lightyear movie, like being separate from the Toy Story universe, like that whole um I guess timeline, if that makes any sense. Pretty much what they did in real life, where they decide to make the Lightyear movie, which I would say is on the same level of like universe as Toy Story because they're both just fictional films. Um, yeah, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I guess what I said earlier when it comes to it doesn't really support it because it's like within the Toy Story universe. But no, I think it's actually within also the Monsters Inc. universe. Like I don't know how I'm supposed to explain it the way I was thinking about, but yeah, it feels like it's going like pretty much really deep within the film within the film within the film, that kind of stuff. But no, it's pretty much still I would say a film within a film. Anyways, I'll stop now. It's getting so meta for me to think about all these different layers of the multiverse or universe of films. Anyways, here we go. Let's continue.
At this point, I'm straight up going to say that Joe Gardner wrote
Yeah,
the
not sure if I
jazzy
made any
score
sense
for
there. Just try my
Monsters,
best to
Inc.
explain what
Alright, so
I
these
thought
details are
about.
fuzzy, but give me time. In this meantime, we need to set up the rest of the second dissertation. Obviously, it's much more wild in premise than a mere family tree timeline, but fortunately, it's not nearly as difficult as it sounds. We simply have to keep establishing the Monsters Inc. Incredibles shared duology universe and simultaneously keep it within the boundaries of this whole multiversal structure. Just like last time, old theories will be incorporated in, filling out the runtime and keeping things interesting while giving you access to every single detail I've ever pondered. We're going to start with the Incredibles because there's a lot going on there, and I feel like B&L has ties to their government. With that in mind, following this video, the playlist I will soon link will contain my theory trilogy on Syndrome and his backstory and his plans. I want to keep Monsters Inc. in your mind, so then it'll jump over to my trilogy of theories on Roz and Mr. Waternoose, because they
Wait,
too.
so this is the playlist you planned out? Well, like for us, like we're going to Ross first, based on that playlist, and then Syndrome.
Are shady. Keeping fresh again, we'll hop back to the
Yeah, very
Incredibles and
cool
you'll
of
see
him
a couple
to.
theories I made in 2019 that you might have missed when I released them. They were quite interesting.
Yeah, very cool of him to
Basically,
like
it's a
plan this
theory on
out
the
ahead of
government in
time.
Incredibles 2, and then a theory
I'm
on
very
the
impressed by
government in
that.
Incredibles 1.
He got it
We needed
all
the
laid
sequel
out
to solve
here.
the first film, and I did that a while ago. Now here's where things get interesting, because we'll be done incorporating old theories at this point. So here's where I'll be uploading my ever-teased Baby Smitty theory, and maybe finally that theory on Edna Mode I've been wanting to do for a while. Once we're done with
this is
that,
really
the time
cool.
will come to sort the logic like we did in the first.
This also helps
Remember,
me like
sorting
lay out on
genetics,
like
timing, locations, that sort
the
of
amount of
thing.
videos I
Once
should
we've
watch
sorted
for
through
each
all the
video,
timeline, then will come the overlap theories,
because I like to
and how
group
it
them
all
up
ties back
together.
to the multiverse into the first dissertation. We good? Good. In the meantime, I gotta get back to Mort and Katie. Now those theories are the craziest. If you don't know, Mort is the Grim Reaper, and Katie infiltrates other universes to eat them. You know, I've been looking
I've been
into
hearing
his
about the Mort
bedroom
theory.
for clues and
What the heck?
Katie, flower, yellow.
Alright. I mean, I think that's a theory for another time. Oh my gosh. So making all these connections, there's a blue sky. That's a funny little ending there. But yeah, that was a really fun like introduction to the whole second playlist here. I do like it. Of course, you know, not everything I understand as always. Like I don't understand everything, but I feel like I got most of it. Definitely easier to digest than the whole family tree back in the first playlist. But yeah, let's get to the Ross theories, man. Yeah, so I know in his video that he said he was gonna go do the syndrome stuff first and then Ross, but um I'm gonna be basing it on his playlist where Roz is pretty much first before syndrome. So let's go do it. Ross theory number one: Randall caused the power crisis. Monsters Inc. There we go.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and my
Hello,
humor is about
Theorizer.
as real as the imaginary number. Only math-oriented people will get that joke. But hold up. What's this?
Okay, his
At
voice
the
sounds
time
different.
I'm writing this script, this channel has 140,000 subscribers.
Presentation is
The
also a
past
bit
few
different now.
months have been absolutely fantastic for views and subs, so thanks for checking out my content. But what I'm going to do today is bring you a revised theory. If you are new or you don't know what I mean, a revised theory is where I take one of my older videos and improve it by making it more plausible, better edited, and better explained. I do it rarely.
I
but
mean, yeah,
it's
so
fun
far
to
the
look
editing
back
is
upon.
a
So let's
massive
get into this
improvement from
one.
before.
The video I will be revising today is an extremely short
more
video
animated.
I made on Monsters Inc. This video was underviewed, had a robotic voice in the background, and was only a minute long. And because it was so poorly explained, I must bring back this idea today to show you all. Monstropolis needs monsters to gather the screams of children in order to fuel their city. Ugh, sounds creepy when I say it like that. But if you're wondering how they could possibly
does.
do this, well, I believe I know. The monsters could be harnessing the children's sound energy, which explains why the louder they scream, the more energy the monsters receive. And when they say laughter is more powerful, that makes sense, as a long, loud laugh will give off more energy when doing the actual math. But basically, the monsters
know
are
about that.
clearly converting whatever essence human laughter has through loudness into energy. And in the movie, there is a severe energy crisis. So what causes this? Let's get into it. Mr. Waternoose controls all of the doors and the whole facility, so he should know all of what is going on. He tells Sullivan and a few others that kids just aren't as scared as they used to be, but he has been shown to be an excessive liar, doing anything to benefit the company. He says he'll kidnap 1,000 children and silence the snitches just to save his company, and I'm thinking that maybe in the past he has done all of this before.
Okay.
It's terrifying, but it's not the point of this theory, so let's shift our focus back to my actual idea. You could argue that he was telling the truth, and that with the progression of violent movies and video games, kids seriously aren't that scared anymore. This door-scaring method clearly used to work, but at some point it became inefficient, and it only took a few years. So why did it stop working? Kids don't just suddenly change for little to no reason. If a kid watched Saw and Kill Bill, but then had a huge, fluffy, spiky, purple-blue, polka-dotted horned bear come out of their closet, they jump out their window. Films and games wouldn't faze kids in that way. No, the shortage really occurs when Sully and Mike get to the factory. And Randall. If you're one of the 8,000 people who watched my initial theory, you know exactly
That was not me.
where I'm going with
I'm
this.
way late to this.
Strap in, I'm about to go nutty conspiracy theorist on y'all. Wanting to become more popular than Sullivan, Randall redirects a ton of hard-earned sound energy to his power-sucking machine and causes the energy crisis to become much more severe than before. He gets Waternoose on board to fund his project by manipulating him with the blind thought that his company was failing, putting him into a state of panic after 3 generations of perfection. This would force Waternoose, Monstropolis, and the employees of Monsters Incorporated to turn to his revolutionary machine, which would skyrocket him into popularity for saving the city's electricity.
Okay. So was that what he wrote down, or is that the actual lore behind that whole machine? Because yeah, I don't know how like that whole like machine that Randall made, how that first was made. So yeah, I assume that's maybe made by the real deal, like from Pixar, or is that like what he's trying to
And that
say as a
was
theory?
what I was trying to get across before.
Oh, okay, it's him. Never mind. It's from the Theorizer.
But now let's actually look at how each aspect of it fully applies. Randall has been shown to be extremely envious of Sullivan, and he
Yep.
constantly tries beating him.
That began
During
in
the Scream
that began back in Monsters University, or I guess if you're saying by the film release, then yeah, here in Monsters Inc.
Extractor scene, Mike asked him if he was being evil so he could do things to get popular. Randall completely denied it. But we know that's a lie. How? Well, Waternoose tells Randall that he is half as scary as Sullivan, and Randall glares at him with anger. If that is not enough to prove that this whole thing was just out of jealousy, then how about when he literally is killing Sullivan, and he says how he's going to be number 1?
Yeah.
Quite the odd prediction, unless he knew.
Yeah, this
that
one
the
I feel like
machine was
is
going to
definitely
make him
easy to
popular.
understand. Like
Now
it's
the energy redirection part.
pretty obvious.
In the tunnels of this facility, all of the wires, electricity, and power redirection occurs. All of the Scream canisters are held and exported in these tunnels. Everything to do with power.
Yeah.
All of the cords. And this machine uses a
Jeez.
ton of power.
I just saw
It's
that now. Look at the
and
amount.
this
Hold on, let me go back. Look at the amount of those energy canisters just being applied for this machine thing. So wait, is this really effective? I guess in the Monsters universe, like using all that, like can you produce more than like what you use?
machine
That's a lot.
uses a ton of power. Its plug massive, and it uses dozens of huge cords to function. This is
And also a lot of
waste
cords, yeah.
So much hard-earned power. There are so many scare floors, and this machine is using up all of that energy, time, and money. Randall is taking it all, and this machine is a part of it. This
Jeez.
plan only increases the intensity of the crisis. Also, if something happens during export, the rest of the process will be messed up. That's how everything works. So since this facility is the power export and the whole city is messed up, it can be assumed that something in this factory is wrong. This many scare floors,
Yeah.
it's been working for years. Things don't just
What the-
suddenly
wait,
change.
what
This
the- what the
many
heck was
scare
that?
Floors, it's been
Is that a real picture of Water News, or did he just like edit that there? Because he's looking like Bob Ross right now.
working for years. Things don't just suddenly change. It's when Randall got there. Now this part. Water news.
Hold on, he
had
didn't. I didn't.
change.
You didn't read
It's
that
when
that bottom part there. Technically, it was approximately 7 years after he joined, but that means that it's still likely, considering the fact that this company has been functioning for decades prior.
Randall got there. Now this part. Waternoose had no idea where all of the power was going. He knew that there was an increase in dead doors, but was still confused. When Randall approaches him with the Scream Extractor idea, Waternoose is desperate. Randall has legitimately caused the biggest and most secretive loss of energy in the history of Monstropolis, and then he manipulates his boss into funding his machine. Waternoose is clearly very desperate. He knows just how shameful it would be to let down a huge company after it was in his family for 3 generations. He can't take it, and is easily blindly manipulated by Randall in an act of sheer desperation. And finally, the whole point of this, Randall's jealousy. He redirects the energy to his wasteful machine, manipulates the CEO, and then hopes that everybody will find his machine as a savior to the power crisis he heavily added to. Now that is villainous. Notice how
Yeah.
confident he is that his whole plan will work. He says in the change room that he knows he will win. He says it so eerily. The winds of change. And he wasn't referring to the Scream Extractor, oh no. Clearly, that was the attitude of a winner. A jealous, sore loser, finally, maniacally, happy to win. Then one scene later, on the scare floor, Sullivan says, "May the best monster win," and Randall says, "I plan to. I plan to. I plan to. I told you so." This whole thing was for his popularity. But I'm
Oh,
We
Dad.
are
Yeah, so I assume that was pretty much like his theory on the whole Monsters Inc. from way back in the day. And yeah, I gotta say, I feel like that was a really good theory, just because it feels so very simple, and I feel like I guess everything that he said within that one paragraph, it definitely feels very believable. Because like when I think back about his the whole like Imogene theories and stuff, maybe some parts of it can feel like a reach, and we just have to like kind of accept some of the assumptions. But this one here feels like everything, like it's not really much of a reach. It's within a realm of possibility. So yeah, I feel like when it came to that whole thing with the whole Randall and the water news thing, like I can definitely see that being very very believable. But yeah, let's continue.
done. Oh no, I have lots to add.
Here we
About
go.
Roz, actually. Yes, the sluggish
You
CEO
might
of the
guys,
CDA.
you guys
I
might hear
want
a
to
blunder, by the
finally
way. My bad if you hear a blunder. Can't control that. I need to eat some dinner at some point.
figure out what exactly the CDA does. Well, I hear you informally verbalizing they child detect. Yes, but not in the way the movie may have you believe at first glance. I actually think that they might have created the rumor that kids were dangerous, as it could allow them to catch the kidnappers. The CDA is out there to protect kids, not prevent them. Now that's something. What did they do
Okay, hold on. What was that?
to protect kids, not prevent them? Now that's
If you're wondering why they are also reacting in a scared manner, we learn at the end that they were playing it up to catch the bad guys.
something. What did they do on the night Boo got out? They put spotlights on several monsters, which is a bit weird. Unless you consider that they were looking for the kidnappers, thinking that the kid was with them. Yes, these are clever observations. And before I go, I want to readdress that very first point. The point I made about Waternoose and Randall kidnapping others before Boo. If Roz was undercover, it means that there was a previous outbreak of child kidnappings that the CDA was made aware of. Wait, but that means Randall and Waternoose have been doing this forever. Just how long has Roz been working there? 2.5 years, according to
Oh.
her. But all of this leaves one final question. Where did those children go? Well, they can't be released into the city, and a machine like this kills, so that means they've killed the kids. And what does Waternoose
That's pretty
say?
dark already.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children. He'd do it, and he began to. Feel that? I sure did. Childhoods everywhere, shattering at that thought. A murderous, deranged, and misunderstood crustacean, and a manipulative, jealous, insane reptilian. They actually killed. That's the most chilling discovery I've made all year, and now I will abruptly leave you with those messed up thoughts.
Thank
Until
you.
next time.
Okay. See, the whole Ross thing, definitely played a part at the end there. But pretty much for the most part, it was just I guess, a rehash of his old theory on the whole Randall and Water News thing. Which, yeah, I thought was, like, very believable, very good. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm gonna guess in the next part, he'll go into more of Roz and, like, what she does and how she's trying to save the children or protect them. Oh, next week, here we go, a tease. It'll be a theory on. Oh, is that Morse code? Well, if you don't know Morse code, go online and translate it. It's okay. I can just play the next video in the playlist here. Alright, let's move on to the second Ross theory, which it doesn't say it's a Ross theory, but assuming the way he titled like the other videos, like he had Ross theory number 1 and 3, I assume this is number 2. And also it's next in the list here, where it says Ross was seeking revenge the whole time. Monsters Inc. theory. Let's watch.
Despite the fact that I've made a whole 4 theories on Monsters Inc., here's another one. It's one of my favorite films by Pixar, and I must say,
I agree.
this video I made is one of
For me, it's one of the first that I've watched. Like I can't tell if I watched it Finding Nemo or Monsters Inc. first because I feel like at least they were the first two that I've watched, and yeah, they've been like very good movies, man.
the best theories on my channel. I absolutely love the way it turned out.
But of course, for
And
me,
there was a little
Cars remains
something
number
I
one
very
for
briefly
Pixar
mentioned
for
at
me.
the end of this video that
love
think
Cars.
warrants a whole
Ka-chow.
separate video of its own. I've done this before with The Incredibles, mentioning something at the end and then making a whole theory on
Oh.
it. Same with Up and
So wait, was I really supposed to watch the Syndrome Theory first? It's just I really trusted his I really trusted his playlist because it was like that the whole time. Like I trusted the playlist more than the Syndrome stuff. I hope I don't need to watch this one first because I don't know if that will like make me kind of confused in this video. Oh well, I'm just basing it on the playlist, guys. So if I if he references anything from here, I do apologize if I'm not gonna get it.
then making a whole theory on it. Same with Up and a few others. So don't think of this as a part 2 because it is not. Although not many people seem
Okay.
to mind that I'm making sequels to other recent videos, I just want to point out that really these aren't sequels. I just have to say part 2 in the title because of the way I formatted my channel. So without any more unnecessary ado, here's some stuff I've gathered on our voluptuous little garden snail.
I'll be watching you. I do have a toy of Ross. I still have one for some reason. I don't know why.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and Monsters Inc.
Hello,
is a
Theorizer.
monster movie. Halloween draws near. There's no question about whether or not to do this. But like I sometimes do at the end of theories, in the last couple minutes of my revised Randolph theory I posted a year ago, I briefly mentioned something that changed my entire perspective on the film, which is why I mentioned it. Watch that video immediately if you haven't, it is a great one. But what I briefly said was that Roz was the one who spread the rumor that kids are toxic, so that it would let her single out the people who had been kidnapping kids for the past 2.5 years. Since my video,
Okay. I'm just kind of curious about that. Now that I think about it, because wasn't it back in Monsters University, where like they had like that one course where they filled it with like kids' toys or something, and when they touch it, like they kind of look like they were like allergic from it. So can I hear that again? Hold on.
been kidnapping kids for the past 2.5 years. Since my video,
Oh, hold on.
intellectual who spread the rumor that kids are toxic, so that it would let her single out the people who had been kidnapping kids for the past 2.5 years.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about that one part in Monsters University. If like, what about that scene where the monsters were getting all like all those bumps and stuff when
Since
they
my
touched the
video,
toys?
intellectual debate has sparked in my comments, and videos
Like,
from
assuming
some
those are,
other
like,
channels
toys,
also
like,
cropped up with similar ideas
touched by children,
regarding the CDA,
like the human
but
one.
now it's time to expand on this because it is very, very likely to be correct that she spread this rumor. First, the evidence I presented in that old video. The CDA intentionally labels themselves as the Child Detection Agency rather than the Child Prevention Agency or the Child Elimination Agency. All they are
Okay.
there to do is detect children and collect them. But not likely for the safety of the other monsters because, as we know, humans are utterly harmless to monsters. It's for the safety of the kids. So if the higher-up directors of the CDA were to create this rumor, it would allow them to pinpoint exactly...
Or you know what? I guess when it comes to those toys, it could also just be like artificially like toxic too. Like maybe it wasn't really touched by kids. Maybe it was just kind of like how like Roz is like lying. They could also just be lying about that too, where kids have like infected it. And by the way, I'm not sure if I'm like remembering that right too. If that one scene in Monster University is like they had to go through that course, assuming that those things were children's toys.
who had been kidnapping children.
I'm just like trying to base it on my
because those
memory
monsters wouldn't
when I
worry
watched
about
that movie
touching
back in the day.
kids. As Roz says, she's been doing this undercover work for 2.5 years now. We do in fact know that the rumor has been around for a very long time though. We see it in effect during Monsters University, as it was likely precautionary back then to keep monsters away from injuring kids, but now it's mandatory to capture the ones building the Scream Extractor.
The other rather significant piece of evidence I presented was the sheer fact that, on the night Boo escaped, the CDA shot huge spotlights down at monsters only. This would make complete and total
Yeah.
sense. They obviously believe that the child will be found with the monsters who have been kidnapping them, so they start beaming down all of the monsters. Something I didn't mention in that other theory, though, is that I'm pretty sure the multiple monsters they put lights on were actually the same ones from Sully's scare floor, which makes sense. They're looking for the culprits. Something else I did not mention is the blatant.
Yeah, you know, at first I thought it was an interesting idea, but then I thought about, I feel like it is the middle of the night. They probably want to put the spotlight on anyone that they can see. But seeing that they highlight just the employees of that scare floor, like it's very specific. I feel like, yeah, they're definitely targeting the ones that might be involved. Okay.
Hatred Roz shows towards Mike. It's because he and Sully are also suspects, because they too are on the kidnapping scare floor. It's why she is so adamant about their paperwork as proof of what they are or are not doing. And Mike condescendingly tells her it would be better if it all just blew away, which makes her livid, as it's making him an even bigger suspect despite her suspicions of Randall and Waternoose. Even at the end of the movie, she says 2.5 years of undercover work were almost wasted. This is obviously because Sully and Mike intercepted the child and could therefore be caught as the criminals, as Randall and Waternoose slipped right on by, which would render everything she did useless in the end. So already I've just provided some new solid evidence. Some evidence
Yeah, I like
that
it so
really,
far.
honestly stares us directly in the face throughout the entire movie, but only really makes sense after my theory has been proposed. Detective work is so much fun. My god, it's the most awesome thing to do. But there is way more, because I don't think the whole CDA knew that it was literally them that spread the rumor of toxic children. If you look at them, even at the very end of the movie when all is revealed, they still jump and shudder when Boo walks by them. And after returning to the comments section of the, I guess you could call it sort of part 1 to this video, I saw someone with ideas that paralleled mine, and they got super intelligent with the concept, bringing to light how many of the workers simply vacuum up the toys like it's nothing. It's true, and in my response to them, I finally provided an explanation. If the majority of the workers are taught that their work is very dangerous and that they have to find the kids or everyone will die, they will be 100 times more effective at doing their true job that they don't even know about. In the wise words of Psycho Sheep Bellwether, fear always works. This is also Mr.
Okay, I like how he
Waternoose's philosophy
brings
with
that
his
over.
very own workers.
In
Funny
a
enough,
unrelated
the
film.
end of Zootopia with the replay of Mayor Bellwether's incriminating words
Like we're seeing
is
more of
damn
Zootopia.
near identical to this movie's end climax with Waternoose's incrimination. Just a neat thing I caught on to. But Roz and her direct team of probably around 10 other high-ranking employees, they know the truth. Kids are not toxic. Something interesting I noted this time I ran through the movie was that out of the thousands of CDA employees, number 2 was the one that went up to Sullivan and asked for his autograph right during the Boo fiasco when she was roaming the halls. I have a 90% guarantee that he was either going to use Sullivan's signature for something, or he was trying to manipulate information out of him as he was in a state of panic upon losing Boo. If he is in fact number 2, that would make him Roz's right-hand man, and he'd be in on it, knowing of Sullivan being suspected as a child murderer. Recently, there
That's
have been
crazy.
some people who've looked at the CDA's code, 2319. If you break down 23 and 19 into number letters, each one represents a W and an S. Some say it stands
Okay.
for white sock, but that makes very little sense. It's very, very, very coincidental. But others claim that it stands for the last names of Mike and Sully, Wazowski and Sullivan. But other than it being a possible Easter egg, nobody really knew why their names would be attributed with the CDA alert code, unless...
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You consider my
I mean, yeah, so far the White Sox maybe sounds more, I guess, understandable than Wazowski and Sullivan, but I guess he's about to explain why. It'll be the latter over here with Wazowski
my
and
theory that
Sullivan.
they were always heavily suspected by Roz. The sheer
Okay.
fact that Roz says she's always watching Mike and Sully is
Yes.
blatant proof that she
You know,
suspects
now that now that her saying of that, like for me, that's probably like my most memorable line of her, of how she's always watching. Now I'm just like thinking about it in this way. Like, dang, it's kind of like with the whole Gusto thing as well. With like, you know how like maybe Remy knew about the whole ratatouille recipe and how like Ego reacted because yeah, probably Remy learned it from like like a relative or something of Ego.
them, and by extension, that my
Well, now
whole
it's got me
theory of
thinking
her
differently
and her
about
supposed
the
team of 10
meaning
and her
of
alleged rumor spreading is correct.
his
And come to
of
think
her
of it,
words.
at the end of Monsters University, we get a Roz cameo, and she says that after Mike and Sully traveled back from the human world, she'd always be watching them. Which is why I
Mm.
guarantee the CDA's code is referencing them. So if Roz was suspicious of kidnappers even back then,
She was also number one in that scene too, right? See that? I'm just wondering, like he did mention that maybe there's like maybe 10 high-ranking people. I assume like the lower the number is, the higher rank that they are, or like the more seniority maybe. Because it maybe like the newer recruits, they would have like the higher numbers, since like their number, they're like the 1000th employee or something. So I'm guessing she's like the first. Well, yeah, I don't know.
them. Which is why I guarantee the CDA's code is referencing them. So if Roz was suspicious of kidnappers even back then, it appears as though. Oh my god. Oh my god!
All right.
Another childhood ruining moment is now approaching. If you wish to keep your young, precious memories intact, turn back now.
No, I'm
Rob
here to shatter them.
apparently is saying here that the kids were being kidnapped way back when, even before Randall got to Monsters Incorporated.
Okay.
And this was a crooked point of my old theory that didn't quite fit, but now I know why. If kids had been disappearing even back then, it makes total sense why the rumors were created. Screw what I said before, it wasn't just precautionary. It was mandatory, even back in the university days. It means that Mr. Waternoose was kidnapping for years, years. Not just when Randall got there. All Randall did was make it more efficient by creating the
So
scream
I think now he's gonna
extractor.
revise his theory
And
to
do not
now
forget
incorporate this.
What Mr. Waternoose said. He said he'd kidnap 1,000 children before he let his company die. In my last vid, I said that he and Randall were guaranteed to have kidnapped hundreds of children for experimentation and killed them. That's why Roz was investigating in the first place. But if it was done before Randall, it means Mr. Waternoose has been testing new ways to crack children for decades. And his father and his grandfather, who founded Monsters Incorporated, were likely also doing this. The horrific
That's a long time,
generations
man.
of malevolent crustaceans. Tell me right now, what would prompt some random dude to create a door portal and then go into a human's room and then learn that scaring them gives off energy? How would he even know what a human is? How would they learn about the entire world map the humans have? How would they connect portals to human bedroom doors? Unless they'd actually gone in there and founded their company on the death and torture of children. When we look at the files of the children they scare, we even see their pictures and absolutely all information about them. Unless the monsters go in there with a camera, how on earth are these pictures snapped? How do they know so
That is
much
true.
over the course of only 3 generations of work? How do screams affect energy? None of it makes sense. How would they test these things?
I wanted to
Oh,
give
another
something
ad.
to the
Yeah, so far with the whole like Monsters Inc. or I guess this new playlist, like I feel like this is one of my more favorite ones in one aspect because it's just easy for me to understand. I feel like I was able to catch on everything here. Yeah, the whole thing with the whole like Imogene and the genetics and stuff, that one really confused me. But I feel like here I'm like back to understanding like pretty much I would say most of his theories so far.
It all lies in the Water News family and the sinisterness they produce. If this horrific family has been kidnapping for years under the cover of a simple door entering and scaring, then it makes sense why the CDA was formed in the first place. How much do you want to bet that Ross was one of the very first scarer workers at Monsters Incorporated? The smart old bag would have picked up on the malice immediately, and after quitting would have
I
formed a
feel like
company.
I feel like she would be a very good scarer. Like I don't know. Does it like imagining this like being in a room? I feel like compared to like Sully. Like yeah, Sully kind of looks like a teddy bear. Like dude, this is like Jabba the Hutt like coming out of your closet. Like
Old bag would have picked up on the malice
like in the middle of the
immediately,
night.
and after quitting would have formed a company that claims to assist the incorporation, when, like Monsters Inc. themselves, the CDA had a secret agenda. But their agenda, Roz's agenda, was to expose them, to bust them wide open for child murder, child torture, and a wickedly heinous conspiracy, all under the cover of a rude old lady who spent years worth of espionage in the most information-filled job possible in the facility in order to figure out what exactly was going on in the walls of the building. Oh hell, this flips my other video completely upside down. It wasn't Randall who manipulated Waternoose, it was Waternoose who manipulated Randall by
Yeah.
making Randall think that it was the other way around. To give Randall the feeling of power, to let him win for once in his life, to expose the deep feelings he'd always had to beat Sully.
He'll always be number two, or someone else's
Go
like
to bed with nightmares or a shattered childhood. I don't
someone else will
mind.
be more secure
I'm
than
just
him
doing this to
in the
greatly
end.
improve the lore, not break the movie. I love this job. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer. After Halloween, I'll be taking a week-long break, and then back to more epically awesome, bigger and better theorizations.
Okay. You know what? I just realized. I remember like a little while back, I did watch Monsters at Work. I do wonder, assuming this video is like way before that, I do wonder if like Monsters at Work does, I guess, change or influence anything with this current theories right now on this. But yeah, let's go to the next one, the last one. All right, here we go. The last one for this video. Raw's theory number 3, the generations of evil, which I assume will be the Water News like bloodline from like what he said before, how like his like father and grandfather probably were doing this, like kidnapping children and extracting their screams and ending up killing them. But yeah, now we got this, so let's watch it. It is heavily recommended that you watch the first 2 parts in this theory. I pretty much did. All right, let's watch.
Waternoose is a psychopathic child kidnapper who inherited his grandfather's company, which harvested energy from youthful human children. Roz was one of the company's original scare workers, and she was also one of the only monsters who'd ever realized the horrific truth behind what was really going on behind the scenes. So she left and constructed the CDA, a company that aims to help monsters by decontaminating humans, when in reality, their secret agenda, known only by the higher-ups, is to bust Monsters Inc. wide open and reveal the truths behind their treacherousness. This was my collective conclusion to my last 2 videos on Monsters Inc., which I'd heavily recommend you watch immediately. Part 1 is the build-up, and Part 2 is one of the best videos I have ever created. Watch them before this one, because today we bring a close to this trilogy of videos as we delve deeper into Roz's history with Monsters Incorporated, what may have prompted her to create the CDA, and what exactly the Water News family has been doing for all of those villainous decades.
Here we go, man. Yeah, so far I would say this is probably my most enjoyable Pixar theory in this whole series. I like it a lot, man. It's very believable too.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and Mr.
Hello,
Waternoose
Theorizer.
was raised into his family of child-killing crustaceans, who he aimed to please, as we know full well at this point. And Roz dedicated her life after scaring to exposing the horrors of this incorporation. As I questioned last video, what exactly would prompt a monster like Mr. Waternoose's grandpa to start up this business, or rather, what would prompt him to somehow create a door portal to a world of humans? Over time, it seems, Monsters Incorporated managed to get the entire world map of the humans, and they've also managed to snap incredibly suspicious pictures of many of the kids. As
Oh,
I
you know
said,
what?
they
I'm thinking about it now with the kids. Well, no. I don't know. I guess I assume like even with these kids, they would probably still have a way to take a picture of them even before Randall was there. Because I was about to say, like, Randall can go invisible, right? So he can probably take some good pictures, like, while in that real world. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing, like, they would need someone like Randall to take those pictures, like, to get a clear view of them.
Managed to harvest all of the details on the human children, but how did they get the info? Their names. As I pointed out last time, and many commenters agreed with me, these pictures look as if they were taken in the monster world, especially what with the industrial
Oh, in the
fluorescing behind
monster
the child,
world.
like the floor in Monsters Inc. And what is the
Okay.
child staring at? Basically, this photo was taken very hastily by a monster, but it's implied that they have photos like this for every child, and none of the scare workers question it. What's going on here? Well, clearly the kids have been kidnapped and questioned on their information. This is incredibly frightening. It also, in fact, means that Waternoose has kidnapped adults in the past, explaining how he gained all of the information that he did on the human world. And Waternoose is efficient at kidnapping and keeping it under wraps. He's even taught Randall his methods. Boo isn't the first child. The Waternoose family has been doing this constantly every day for decades. Seriously, it's very freaky. The sheer level of information they have regarding the human world, and more specifically, the individual children themselves, is horrifying. So of course I do in fact believe that they've gotten thousands of kids kidnapped, killed, tested on, which makes sense because of just how deeply humans fear the monsters. I mean, what kind of crazy myths do you think the humans are sharing around after losing their children to monsters in the night? Kind of freaky. But Roz clearly is the key in this big lock, as she was the one who aimed to shut down the operation. It's my theory that she encountered some high-ranking monsters in the middle of some of their horrific testing, and she quit to put an end to it. Clearly she didn't know it was Waternoose specifically who was running it, because later in the film she claims she had no idea this treachery was all the way up at the CEO level. But it's certain that she did see some of Waternoose's henchmen doing evil stuff, and this all makes excellent sense. She returned as an administrator to stop the bad guys, but learned in the end the truth of the CEO. But let's talk about her job in administration for a moment. Before even coming back to the company, she already knew exactly which scare floor she would be working on. She knew right where to go to find the kidnappers. Perhaps there had been some misplaced files due to the kidnappings, which stuck out like a beacon in her analysis. Clearly then, her very specific job, administration, was all to see specifically which files were abnormal in order to catch the culprits. By selecting the very specific job where she became a hub of information, as I said last video, that's why she shows such suspicion and hatred towards Mike and Sully, claiming she's watching them closely, because of Mike's sarcasm and failing to hand in the papers. When Mike and Sully failed to bring in the papers, Roz immediately became suspicious of them, assuming it was
just because of, like,
they were
Mike's
guilty.
incompetence.
This almost ruined 2.5 years of her undercover work.
Don't
Or the
compromise.
yeah, can you imagine just, like, being, like, I guess, not the most perfect employee, and because of that, you're kind of, like, suspicious to Roz.
What I find brilliantly perfect was that this movie took place right around the point where the entire CDA began infiltrating the facility. It was almost like Roz was just waiting.
Dang, look at that, hold on. I mean, yeah, I don't know if, like, what I said is true, where, like, I guess the lower numbers are, like, the more, senior people, and the numbers that are, like, higher are, like the juniors. Wait, we're going up to, like, 82,000. Dang. We got 52 over here, I think.
Began infiltrating the facility. It was almost like Roz was just waiting, desperately hoping that something would go wrong on the scare floor so she'd have an excuse to have the CDA search the incorporation for evidence of a child murder. This was the climax of her plan, I believe. And what was it that caused the CDA's whole search again? Well, the fact that Boo was let out into Monstropolis. And what caused this? Boo escaping her door due to Sully while Randall was busy. Someone like Roz is going to be monitoring this floor 24/7, and I highly doubt she'd miss something as big as this. Randall, being a little idiot, for some reason left Boo's door unattended while he was out getting the capture equipment. This is odd, because Randall isn't usually this stupid. However, my point is, he was away for quite some time, even before Sully got there. This could easily provide an open opportunity for Roz to intervene. Boo somehow constantly teleports around, but her first quote-unquote teleportation was the most abnormal and unbelievable, as it literally involved sneaking through the open door that Sully was completely covering. So, I believe that Roz's spies had a hand in letting Boo out, while Randall was otherwise
Okay.
distracted. I also think
I thought
it
this was
more
about to
of
go
Roz-
to the thing where, because I know he said like the Incredibles in Monsters Inc. world was like shared. I thought he was about to see like that Boo had like superpowers of teleportation or something.
CDA workers out of costume that caused Randall this distraction, almost like a whole entire staged busting of the bad guy, but Sullivan got in the way. Hence why Roz says everything was almost wasted. It's almost like Boo was already out of the room before Sully entered it. It must have been the CDA who let her out. I mean, seriously, they have a hand in all of this. Roz needed an excuse to have the entire building searched for evidence, but the only way to do that would be by distracting a suspected kidnapper and letting a child escape. I seriously think this, and the logic is real. The plan is required because, first of all, she cannot make an arrest without the plenty of evidence she had yet to gather, and secondly, Roz had no idea if Randall had other associates, but this, it's an ideal plan. It works to find everything and bust it all wide open. It's perfect. And other than the unexpected interventions of Sully and Mike, it worked brilliantly. Another neat thing to note, however, is that when Mike approaches Roz and tells her that Randall was working late last night, Roz almost immediately closes her metal window. This is abrupt. She claims her office is now closed, but that's not true. Do you know what is true? Roz learning that Mike too suspects Randall. It's all about that. The reason she slammed her window is because of that one small thing he said about Randall. She needed to inform her associates of the new developments.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like as soon as she heard that, like I gotta go and report this to the CDA, because that's probably like new information of like Randall working late at night. Like okay, I gotta store's closed. I need to do something and water my cats and feed my plants.
Very neat, all of this interconnected lore. There's just one final problem in all of this. Why was it the CDA who escorted Waternoose to prison? They aren't the police, certainly. They are an agency for child protection masquerading as an extermination team. I certainly don't think Waternoose was working with Roz the whole time and they escorted him away as an escape. No. Quite the opposite, obviously. I believe that the CDA didn't want police involvement because Roz had her own kind of special punishment for Mr. Waternoose. Not torture, though, and not a cruel and secretive death penalty, but more or less the act of sending him to the human world, just like Randall was. A perfect torment, logically. And my backup for this is the fact that they didn't even try to go after Randall, despite the fact that he could have easily found another door and gotten back into the monster world. In the chase scene,
That's pretty much I mean, not really what happened, but he did get back to the the monster world through one of the later like Monsters Inc. entries.
Randall chases the protagonist through the human world, but there are magic doors everywhere. Randall could easily come back if he manages to trace the times and locations of the scaring, but the CDA doesn't bother taking any more precautions. This is the fate of the villains. It's also a perfect torture, because it's what Waternoose did to exile his disobedient staff. The CDA wants to exile Randall and Waternoose to the human world, and Randall was already there. If they ever come back to Monstropolis, they'll either be killed or sent right back through. There's no point in them returning. They'd just be targets of an enormous manhunt. Really, the CDA took Waternoose because they don't want the police to deal with it. Either the police wouldn't care about the humans he killed, which is why Roz took him, or the police would care so much they'd kill him, which is why Roz took him. It's all coming together and it's excellent. Mr. Waternoose is a brilliantly flawed individual. Roz is the perfect savior, and I love Monsters, Inc. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer.
Alright, so yeah, that was it. That was it for the Roz theories here. So yeah, that was my reaction to the first 4 videos in the second Pixar Mega Theory playlist here, with the Nest theory and then the 3 Roz theories. I would say the Roz theories are probably my favorite so far, just because, like I said before, like they feel like within the realm of possibility and not much of a reach. compared to like the whole, yeah, compared to like the whole Imogene stuff, I feel like these like 3 videos here felt very believable. I think especially, I think going into the second one over here with Roz, like, even though maybe you could say it's a reach, maybe for just the idea itself, I think with like how he laid things out, it feels very believable that that can be a thing. But yeah, I like it. I like the nest theory as well. Some parts of it were, not the best for me to comprehend, like the whole like recursion when it comes to the films of like Toy Story and all that. Um, but like I do feel like I think it does make sense when it comes to like Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles being you know like I guess the most outer of the universes, and then Toy Story and all the other ones from the first playlist, like they're within that world. But yeah, so far it's a very good start. I do enjoy it. And now next time, yeah, we got the Incredibles theories over here with Syndrome, which yeah, we got like a lot. I mean, I think I'll maybe just do the first 3 over here, and then we'll do like the next 2, and then in the next video. I think I'll do it like that for me, just because the way he laid things out in that first video at the end seems like maybe that's how he wants me to watch it, or like group things up. So I think that's what I'll do. And also, I think I will probably just watch the first Incredibles, uh, because it's been like a long time. I don't remember much about like Syndrome and stuff. Like I know his, I guess the general story behind him, but I guess for me, I just forgot all these specifics. I even forgot like who this character was. Like I don't even know. Like I know like she was there. I forgot her role. Like I think she was more maybe on the antagonist side of things, but yeah. Anyways, I'll go rewatch The Incredibles just to get my mind freshed up, and then maybe The Incredibles 2. Um, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, guys, yeah, that was it. Very good theories to start out with the second playlist. Next time, the Incredibles theories. So yeah, that'll be for now, guys. That's game.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good